Greetings YouTube! Analysis firm Cohen says pre-orders for Battlefield 5 have so far been, quote, weak, unquote. There are several possible reasons why this is happening. First, Titanfall 2. Titanfall 2's release date was sandwiched between Battlefield 1 and Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. Infinite Warfare, of course, was married inseparably, naturally, because Activision, to Modern Warfare Remastered, an old classic that everyone agreed is one of the best, if not the best, Call of Duty game, and therefore everyone wanted to get their bloody hands on it. Titanfall 2 was simply sandwiched between two leviathans. Titanfall 2 was never going to win that fight. What has this got to do with anything? Well, Battlefield 5 is sandwiched between, ironically, Call of Duty Black Ops 4 and Red Dead Redemption 2. Call of Duty is, of course, one of the biggest selling franchises out there, and Red Dead Redemption 2 is a much anticipated game from a much lauded studio. And anybody who actually wants to buy any of these games will have to make a choice. These games are coming out one after the other, week after week, and anybody who is wanting to buy these will have to think carefully before they accidentally annihilate their own wallet. And Battlefield 5 is just the obvious losing candidate in that three-way fight. Second, Patrick Sutherland. If you say to someone, if you don't like the game, don't buy it, they probably take that as sound advice. Unless you happen to be DICE's former CEO and now EA's Chief Creative Officer, Patrick Sutherland. A guy who happens to have a lot of creative input into Battlefield. You know, the game he's just told everyone, don't buy it if you don't like it. His comments were in response to some people being very agitated over women. Women, I ask you, being featured so prominently in Battlefield 5 of all things. I mean, I ask you, have you ever heard of such a thing? Not in my lifetime. In all fairness, he's probably getting tired of having to defend against this kind of thing, rather than talking about the game, which he'd much rather be doing, I'm sure. Well, maybe not now, because he's leaving. 2 months before the game comes out. Yikes. Thirdly, Star Wars Battlefront 2. This game had microtransactions and loot boxes, but more to the point, it had loot boxes containing functional upgrades. Upgrades that enhanced your character's abilities and therefore gave you an edge over other players in the game, effectively rendering the game pay to win. That's probably enough to piss off Battlefront fans, you know, the same people who've been waiting for a good Battlefront game ever since the original 2 on the PS2. But it probably also pissed off a lot of Star Wars fans. You know, the kind of people who showed up just because it was a Star Wars game. And if there's one thing you do not do, it's piss off Star Wars fans. George Lucas can tell you a story or two about that. Now, we don't actually know if Battlefront 2's, let's call it performance, will actually impinge on the next Battlefield game, so this is sort of uncharted territory. But it probably won't help. Now, none of this bodes well for Battlefield 5, but you remember Doom 4? No. Before it was released. Yes, that's the one. Boring brown images. Huge dislike for the multiplayer beta. No review copies until launch day. Everything indicated this would be a shit show. Ah, stand still, you imp bastard. Ow. It makes it too easy to wreak utter havoc. God grief, how many Hell Knights are there? Whew. I've forgotten how fun this is. And yes, before you start, I know that Doom 4 is not in the same situation as Battlefield 5. But guys, indicators can sometimes be wrong. Matt Priscatella, assuming I've just pronounced that right, games industry analyst at MPD Group says that pre-orders are less important nowadays at determining the ultimate success of a video game. Pre-orders are apparently only useful in estimating day one sales, and they're not even good at that these days. Moreover, publishers have been pushing this games as a service bollocks, which basically means they want you to keep paying for the game after you've bought it. Season passes, DLC, microtransactions, and other things besides, I'm sure. Point is, indicators being bad doesn't necessarily mean the game is on course for failure. Unless it is. Unless it isn't. I'm confused. Long story short, Battlefield 5 pre-orders are way down, and that tells us dick. I hope you enjoyed this informative video.